February 18th, 2025 shall come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Need to amend the agenda, Council, by deleting item 6C. Deleting item 6C. Therefore, I ask a motion to approve the agenda with that amendment. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Creighton, that we approve the amended agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Item number 3, approval of the consent agenda, including the following. We need approval of City Council meeting minutes of February 3rd, that's a regular meeting, and February 11th, which was a workshop of 2025. We need approval of bills and claims, and C, we need to set the proposed fiscal year 26 tax rate levy and establish April 7th, 2025 at 5 p.m. as the special meeting for budget levy hearing. Motion, please, to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
So moved.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Beth Ann, that we approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
same. Motion carries. Now is the time and place for any citizen in the audience who wishes to address the council on any issue or item that is not on the agenda this evening. Please approach the podium, state your name first and last, and give your address so the clerk can properly enter it into the minutes. None appearing, we'll move on to 5A, unfinished business. 5A is the Stonebrook Condominiums Urban Revitalization Plan, and this is on the third and final reading, but I'm asking a motion to approve ordinance number 888, an ordinance designating an area of Clear Lake, Iowa as the 2025 Stonebrook Condominiums Urban Revitalization Area. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Creighton, that we approve ordinance number 888 on the third and final reading. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Mark?
Yes.
Creighton?
Yes.
Beth Ann?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
And Dana?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0, and ordinance number 888 is duly adopted. Thank you. We'll move to 5B, an ordinance establishing state set-off program provision, and this is on the second of 3 readings, but I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 889, an ordinance amending an ordinance of the City of Clear Lake, Iowa, now known as Fiscal Management, Chapter 7 of the Clear Lake Municipal Code, by adding a new section 7.09, providing for set-off program provisions. As I said, the second of 3 readings. Motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Beth Ann, seconded by Mark, that we approve ordinance number 889 on the second reading. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Creighton?
Yes.
Beth Ann?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
And Mark?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Ordinance 889 is approved on the second of 3 readings. We'll jump right to new business. 6A, fiscal year 2024 municipal audit report. Introduction, Jacob Widman, Acting City Administrator. Welcome, Jacob.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So tonight we'll be going over the annual audit report. Under Iowa Code Section 11.6, the city is required to do an annual audit of our financials every single year. So for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2024, we had the accounting firm of Bonsek and Fromet conduct our audit again. They've been doing our audit since 2013 and have done a very good job with it. 2024 is the last year under the current contract that we have with them. And I'll just say it's been real good to work with them. I'm not going to go over the report too much. Sarah with the firm is on the phone, and she'll kind of walk through the report a little bit. But clean report again this year, and I thought the audit went very well. So unless there's any other questions, I'll let Sarah take over.
Any questions, council? Thank you.
Yep.
Jacob. Welcome, Sarah. You're on.
Thank you. Thank you. The first thing I'd like to go over are the required communications of the audit. This year, we were only required to do 2 types of audit. You did not have over $750,000 in federal expenditures this year, so we were not required to do a federal single audit. However, we did the financial statement audit, and you received an unmodified opinion, which is the highest form of opinion that you can receive. The second type audit we do is the government auditing standards, and if you remember, that's looking at your internal control structure and to make sure that it's functioning as it was designed, and also to look at compliance with laws, regulations, grants, and contracts. We had no findings with the government auditing standards audit, so that's a pretty clean report. And then I was just going to go over some highlights of the year. Your total revenues in 2024 were $20,466,000 compared to $17,646,000 in 2023. The change is about $2.8 million. The majority of that is in your grants and contributions, which increased about $1,683,000. And that's due to a capital donation for the Everybody Plays Playground project, $1 million SCBG swap funds, and a $601,000 Destination Iowa. The city's property tax rate actually decreased this year from 9.7 to 9.65. Your taxable value did increase from $741 million to $804 million, which was about 8% growth. And then if you look at the other, I like to point out that that's due to interest earned on investment, which this year increased from $330,000 to $740,000. The next page is looking at your expenditures for the year. Your total expenditures for 2024 were $15,658,000. compared to $12,105,000 in 2023, which is about a $3.5 million increase. And the majority of that is due to, this is on the full accrual basis, so it has your pension expense in there. And last year, with the actuarial valuation, you actually had a contra asset, or if you will, a negative expense for your pensions of $3 million. So that makes up the majority of that. Your total business type activities revenue increased about $95,000 from $2.1 million to about $2.2 million. And the increase is primarily in interest earnings. And your total expense increased about $425,000, and that was primarily due to the water tower maintenance expenses. And then the very last graph is looking at your unassigned general fund balance. Your actual general fund balance this year increased by about $666,000. And there's about 247 days in your ending fund balance, which is very similar to where you were at in 2023 and 2022. So really in a good, strong financial position. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Council, any questions for Sarah? Well, we thank you very much for giving us that information tonight. Sounds like things are financially well for us, and we certainly appreciate the number of times that you have done this for us. It's been a good number of years, and we appreciate your giving us this information in this particular manner. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep, and keep warm.
Thanks.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right, where am I here? Bennett, you've got to help me here. What did I do with that? Here it is. All right, therefore, we need a motion to approve and accept fiscal year 24 audit report. Motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Dana, that we approve fiscal year 2024 municipal audit report. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. Surf District Music Enrichment and Immersive Center Project update, review of change order number 5 and pay estimate number 10. Jacob Widman, our city administrator. Welcome again, Jacob.
Thank you, Mayor and Council again. I'll be starting with the sheets in your packet. It's a white sheet is the first one I'll be going through with the request for payment. So if you look at the sheet there on the top of your sheet, you have the original contract amount of just over $5 million. So far, we've had approved change orders, change order number 1 through 4, in the total amount of $142,000, bringing the revised contract amount to $5,147,000 and some change. The contract completed to date is nearly $4.2 million. Of that, they've withheld $209,000 of retainage, and the completed less retainage to date is $3,974,000. Previous payment request is $3,624,000. So then that brings us to the current payment request of $349,934.82. I'll just say, as far as a project update for down there, the project is coming along very nicely. They're working on inside stuff. The outside stuff's mostly done. Obviously, with the weather, there's not anything they can do outside right now. They are trying to get the inside wrapped up so that Trivium can come in and do the immersive part. And Trivium needs 60 days to be able to do that without any other construction stuff going on. So they're trying to have the construction wrapped up middle part of April so that Trivium can come in and then have that done the middle part of June and hopefully with an early July opening. So that's kind of the schedule right now. Things are still looking pretty good, but there is also still quite a bit of work to be done in that period of time. So is there any questions on any of that? If not, then I can go into the change order requests.
Any questions for Jacob?
Okay.
Carry on.
The next part of it then would be items for change order number 5. And so I'll just kind of walk through each item, give you guys a little bit more detail on those. So change order number 5, the first request, 5A, is for installation of 16-inch diameter chandeliers in the meeting room upstairs. So in the second level of the MEC there, there's a big meeting room, and they'll have that for a rental space where you can have events up there, and then various community events can also be held up there. So the total for that change order to add those 6 chandeliers would be $13,738.40. The next item, item 5B, is to provide independent commissioning services for the HVAC. We had looked at if maybe potentially we didn't have to do this, but it is something that is recommended by the HVAC installer, and to make sure that we have everything set up as efficiently as it can be, and so that the warranty is good on everything. We do need to have these services for the HVAC there. So that's the commissioning. That's for $15,184. Item 5C is building a little reception desk area. The total on that is $7,369.44. That one was in the original contract, and we had pulled it out in change order number 3. We had got a credit of $8,278.40, and because the original route they had wanted to go, they knew they didn't want to go that route anymore, so they pulled it out and then came to the decision of this is the route they wanted to go, and actually it has some savings going this route. Item 5D is providing different paint for the immersive room. This immersive technology, the paint on the walls, there's kind of an upgraded paint that it needs to have so that you get the full experience of it. So that is $5,696.14. And if you recall, when we originally entered into this, we were thinking more of a static museum, and we hadn't decided on the immersive part yet. And so that's why it's a change coming in at this point in time, is because we hadn't originally planned on the immersive portion. Item 5E then is for floor coverings and tile adjustments. The actuals on this one actually came in underneath what the budget amount was. So that's a credit of $25,332.59. Couple more items here then. Item 5F is providing for another cooling unit in one of the mechanical rooms. I believe there's one unit in this room already, but they don't believe that it's going to be sufficient for the mechanical that's in there. And so the addition of that is $12,045.28. Item 5G is for adding storage shelving in several of the storage rooms down on the main level. And that's an add of $9,773.92. And then the last item is to do some overlay in the parking lot. When we installed the sidewalks and stuff out there, we had elevated them up a little bit higher so that we could do an overlay to get the water to drain better away from the building. And so that's an add of $19,768.06. So the total for change order number 5 then that is being requested is $58,242.65. And I will say on the change orders, as I look through these change orders, I do see most of them as being needs to the project, things that are good adds to the project and have just come up throughout the project. The one item that I will say kind of stood out to me a little bit is maybe more of a want than a need, was on the chandeliers. And I had previously told the group that we weren't going to approve those, but they did want to bring it to council to see if you guys wanted to, because it does elevate the rental space upstairs. And so there is a benefit, like if you were to have wedding receptions and stuff up there, it does add to the space for sure, but also kind of a want over a need. So, that's what I had though on those. Any questions or comments or anything?
Yes, Jacob, thank you. I appreciate the update on a
Yep.
very cold evening here. So, now this is a terrific project for us, so thank you for that update, and it has my full support. But I guess one question I have for you is, my understanding is that one of the reasons we went with the construction manager at risk process for the MEC was to reduce our exposure to change orders. And yet we're seeing quite a few of these. So I just wondering if you could give a little more background on that. I think you've given some here tonight already, but if you could explain that a little bit more for us.
Yeah, so we did go through the construction manager at risk process for the MEC. As you mentioned, one of the benefits of doing the construction manager at risk is you have one company overseeing the whole project, and by doing that, you do hope to eliminate some of those change orders. And I think to date, There has been a number of change orders. This is change order number 5. If this one's approved, we'll have over 200,000 in change orders on the project so far. And I think some of those were anticipated when we originally started the project, because we had kind of left them as side budget items and hadn't pulled them into the project. And also a project of this scale, you're gonna have some change orders.
Right, and some of
But
those
then
were
it-
add-ons.
Then
kind
it
of, if I-
kind of gets
yeah.
to, as I mentioned, the need versus the wants things.
Right.
Because a lot of times change orders are things that you didn't know at the beginning of the project that kind of come up throughout the project. And so the construction manager at risk process is to help kind of mitigate some of that stuff and get some of those issues addressed up front.
Okay, so let me just ask this follow-up then. Do you anticipate us having some more change orders in the future on this?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do. I know there's, in addition to these items here, I know there's also a few more items that have already been brought up for a potential change order number 6. So,
Okay. And I realize that, like you say, sometimes things come up, so I've supported the prior change orders, but I would also say I think it's really important to stay within our budget, and the construction manager at risk process, as you pointed out, kind of was designed to help us do that. So you mentioned here with change order number 5, we've got that additional item, such as the chandeliers for the meeting room, and I'm sure those will look fantastic, you know what I mean? So I don't dispute that at all. But I do think it would be more appropriate to fund those items with private donations, since it was not part of our original budget, correct?
Mhm.
Those weren't part.
Correct. Yep.
And as you pointed out, it's more of a want than a need. But again, I just want to emphasize, the MEC is a great project for our community. It's had my full support.
Mhm.
But I also think it's important that we honor the limits of our budget going forward, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So I will vote no on that change order. Thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Mayor, may I speak?
You may.
So, Jacob, I guess one of the things that concern me is that in a comment you made is that, I'm referring to the component about the chandelier and all the extra electrical we will have to fund for that conference/meeting room. You did tell them no, and it went ahead. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I guess the concern I have is that we have, previously, our previous city administrator, our interim, meet with these people and talk about where the money's coming from and tells them we can't do this, and yet they go ahead and put it in as a change order, and that concerns me. I've been on the SURF and the MEIC project committee for over a year. Before I even got elected, I was asked to be there as an historian, and we have so many good discussions, but always trying to stay within budget was important. We have responsibilities that we have to show to the state of how that money was used. Excuse me. So I guess I'm just real concerned about the chandeliers, and I know it just seems like crazy, but I just don't feel good about them reaching out and pushing that. That's something we should cover. I think, excuse me, we probably need to go ahead and have someone else pay for the chandeliers at least. And then we would figure out, because they'll need new wiring, that's going to have to be figured out. But that's just how I feel, and for that reason, I'm very concerned about voting in favor of this change order. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome. Anyone else? I'd just like to say this, that we use the term chandelier. I'm thinking of some of those many castles that my wife drugged me through in Europe, and those are what I presume are chandeliers. I certainly don't think that that's the kind of chandelier we're talking about.
Yeah.
So we're talking about a name here rather than a light. Why don't we just say light? you know,
Right, it's not
miss-
what you picture as a huge extravagant chandelier. It is more of just a lighting upgrade to the space, to more of a chandelier type light, but it's not like what you would picture going into a huge ballroom or something. It
Yeah.
definitely is a lighting upgrade, but.
And we do need lights, that's a need. So how do we sit here and determine what does it look like, or, you know, now, is this excuse me, Mr. Menard, but is it a Menard light, or is it one of the nice fancy stores in Cedar Rapids or Rochester? There's a difference there.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, we're stumbling across the name we don't even know. We haven't even seen it. So how can we say, no, I don't want that? You know, I don't get it.
Can I add something after those comments?
Certainly.
Yeah, I would say, I understand the concern, and I agree that there's maybe a little bit too much to the word chandelier. Also, there have been meetings, surf meetings the last few months, and myself and Mark have both sat on those. And that's part of the reason this is making it back into the change request. It's not the group continuing to push it. We both saw that, and we both approved it being part of the change order, so there's definitely no issues
Yeah,
there.
I will say there has been really good collaboration going on in the last month and a half with those collaboration meetings and being able to talk through things as a group, and it not just being one person making the decision. I don't want to be the person that, I mean, ultimately, in the acting city administrator role, I can make decisions, I can make recommendations, but I do think collaboration is key, and I have appreciated those meetings and the back and forth in them.
Yeah, and to the mayor's point, it's definitely more on the Menard side than it is.
yeah.
I don't know what you compared it to, but I think each unit with shipping and everything is about $800. So in the world of chandeliers, especially coming from a Marriott background where we've put up chandeliers in different hotels that were hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
It's nothing
It-
like
it's-
that. This
it's
is
a little
Menard
unfortunate
solution.
because it is a lighting upgrade at this point in time, and I think they've already done some of the electrical for the other lights, and so a majority of the cost is to upgrade the electrical, upgrade the things that they hang on there. And so if it would have originally been part of the project, it probably would have been a much lower cost. And so it's just kind of hard when
Right.
it comes in at this point in time in the project.
Yeah, and I think to Bennett's point, that's probably some of the issue with the change orders and the multiple change orders. And if we would have had all these things in the beginning, then maybe we're able to do them a more efficient way.
Yeah, and that's a good point, and that's why, as I said, and I want to be clear, I'm very supportive of what we're doing here, appreciate everybody's involvement, and I think that's true, and I've supported the prior change orders. I guess I just wanted to articulate more of a concern going forward and sticking to our budget. I also
Right.
do appreciate, Jacob, your professional recommendation, which is something I do tend to give significant weight to. So when you suggest it's a want, not a need and whatnot, that does influence my decision-making. But I do understand the commentary from my colleagues here as well, so thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, and one other comment. That's our building. This is an investment into our building. We're investing in our building, not somebody else's. The nonprofit will be the operators eventually when that particular contract is signed. We're ways down the road on that. So these are, I have one other question. If we, when we say we vote no on these, we've got how many different change items here?
Right, yeah.
So
up
if we
through
vote,
H.
you know, you have to vote on this motion, then that wipes all the others out.
It would, yeah.
So do we delineate, do we specify one in the motion?
You could delineate, you could pull one out, or you could reject it, and then we could bring those other items back in as a separate change order. So there's two ways you could go about it.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
and now a question that I have right along with what you just mentioned. Is there, I mean, since I've been so sick, I have not been to those surf meetings, and thank you, Mark and Creighton, for being there for those, because those are crucial meetings. Was there ever any discussion when you were talking about the lighting upgrades of having private contributors put money into that, or grant writing? I know I helped Lori before she left the position to write 4 grants that brought money in for the project. Is there any talk about doing that to supplement the new lighting, since this is a package?
I don't think specifically for the lighting as far as grants and that
Okay.
go. On some of the more significant items that we're looking at, there's definitely been some talk on that. And I think you're aware they have got some grant and have been willing to do
Yes.
some things with the dock, and there's some other features that they're looking into. So there's that activity is definitely happening,
Yeah.
and I think we'll continue to do so, and we'll allow them to continue to enhance the spaces and what we offer down there. So it's out there, but not necessarily for this light feature.
Okay, that helps a lot, Creighton. Thank you so much, because I really do want us to do what's right, and that Surf District has a very special place for me, and I want this to be a good project. I also just do not want, what Jacob's recommendations are to be set aside without having something else where more money can come in. Thank you.
Mark, you have a comment?
I'm going to kind of speak from a personal standpoint. I've never been part of building a home. I've been part of watching my wife remodel a kitchen. And change order was a common practice when you get down to seeing,
Yeah.
here's kind of the final product.
Right.
And, well, that isn't quite right. And I've said numerous times, I don't have a whole lot of vision when it comes to these types of things. I need to see it, and I keep looking at these lights. If that's what was gonna go into that quasi ballroom, honestly, it's pretty tacky.
Yeah.
So I think this is a very small amount of money to put the final touches onto what's gonna be a very fantastic venue.
Dana?
Thank you, Mark.
With that said, I'd like to offer a motion.
Okay.
No comments needed on my part. As a builder for years, excuse me, I agree with Mark. And I agree with everybody, of course, but, sorry. Ah, it's been a rough week.
Get through the
If you mind,
motion.
but
Not helping either. No, but just doing so many remodeling jobs over the years and change orders and building my own home. And yeah, you get to the end and it is tough, because at the end, you're broke or almost broke. And so this is
Not
the.
that, you've heard the audit
we're not
report.
to that
You're doing
point.
very well.
Got a nice audit, a good audit, but it does make it tough. And this is a unique situation because of what we're dealing with different parties and collaborating. But, I would offer a motion that we just approve the change order as it's written and accept all the things that are asked for at this point.
It's been moved that we approve change order number 5 and pay estimate number 10. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Dana, seconded by Creighton, that we approve change order number 5, pay estimate number 10 with regard to Surf District Music Enrichment Immersive Center project. Is there any further discussion? Okay, I'm going to do a roll call on that. Beth Ann,
No.
Bennett,
no.
Dana,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and Creighton.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-2 in favor of change order number 5 and pay estimate number 10. And pay estimate number 10, correct me if I'm wrong, is $58,242.65.
That's change order number 5. That's the total.
Oh,
Yep.
all right,
Yep,
okay.
correct.
okay. All right,
Very good. Thank you.
thank you. And as we said at the beginning, we are skipping 6C, so we move right over to 6D, zoning ordinance amendments, review. Matt Stedding, city engineer. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. So just want to note here that this zoning ordinance amendments that we're going through tonight, this is to set the public hearing, which would take place on March 17th. So I'll just be going through a brief background tonight, and then any discussion that anybody has, feel free to discuss it, and then we'll get into a lot more depth at that public hearing meeting. So I'll just go through a little bit here. Hope everyone's having a great start to their week. Tonight we'll kind of be discussing zoning districts within our current zoning ordinance, and more specifically we'll be discussing our medium density and high density single family residential districts dimensional requirements. So a few months back, Scott Forey initially began looking into these two districts, and shortly after he brought me into the fold. While we were going through this initial analysis, we came across some counterintuitive restrictions within these two districts. Due to the sheer amount of information to go through within our zoning ordinance, we look to tackle these with sort of a multi-pronged approach so that everything is more straightforward and as possible and does not become too overwhelming through everything. This first prong or phase, if you will, it looked to specifically into the regulations put on our RS8 medium density and our RS12 high density single family residential districts. While reviewing these regulations, it was found that both the RS8 medium density as well as the RS12 high density districts share minimum lot requirements of 6,000 square feet and minimum lot widths of 60 feet. They go on to share virtually every single dimensional requirement besides the zero lot line requirements that's held onto in the high district area. By having these zoning requirements essentially equal to each other, it really takes away from having those individual districts that was the point to begin with. We strongly felt that a separation should be introduced here to help distinguish between these two districts and their respective boundaries as well. By creating this individuality between the districts, it really allows these separate districts to function how they're meant to function within their designated boundaries. To make restrictions clearly distinguishable between these two districts while still staying within the proper so-called parameters for each district, at last month's planning and zoning meeting, the commission did recommend adjusting the minimum lot area in our high-density residential RS12 to be 5,000 square feet and the minimum lot width to be 50 feet. With the direction of the current building market, affordable housing is held steady at the forefront of this. These amendments will not only assist in creating the individuality that these districts deserve and were intended to have, but will also help usher in this new age of building affordable single-family homes for our community. So that's what I have here tonight, and happy to discuss anything farther. Otherwise, like I said, we'll be voting on taking this to a public hearing on March 17th.
Matt, there's so many different colors going on this map. Can you give me just maybe one or two examples of the RS12?
So off the top of my head, since I've looked at it for so long, the salmon color would be RS8 medium density residential, which makes up a vast majority of our town. And the RS12 high density residential area that we're discussing the dimensional requirements on would be the purple color. There's few of them. Fewer, for sure. And we kind of started on this so everybody understands, like I said, and briefly, this is more of a multi-pronged approach that we're taking. So we're starting with the single-family residential. We're looking at the classifications within those districts, and then we will be going through the industrial, commercial, and so forth, multifamily. This is the largest part of our community, so it's where we started.
And Matt, am I correct that for low density, it's 5,000 square feet? Or do I have that wrong? 8,000, maybe.
Yeah, 8.
It's 8, right? I got
Yes.
my notes here
Yep.
somewhere.
RS5.
8, right.
Low density.
So RS5 is 8, RS8
RS8
is 6, and then RS12 is 6. So historically, and I appreciated the explanation, this vote is just on setting the date for a public hearing, but I'm curious about the history of that in terms of in Clear Lake, why it was set up that way.
I'd be curious as well.
I knew it was a loaded question, but
Valid. I've looked at, 50-some different communities, and I've been involved in a lot of communities down in the metro. I will say you get into the larger metropolitan areas, and you see a lot of 4,500 square foot areas, Coralville, the areas like that, in the high density. And some municipalities have one R district, but we went forward and created 3 supposed to be separate, individual, unique districts within our residential section. And I know that it does state that a duplex is a permitted use on high-density residential. A duplex is also a provisional use in the RS8 medium density, but on an 8,750 square foot lot. So a lot of this was set up years ago, and whether right or wrong, I would tend to lean farther on the side of agreeance towards single-family lots also carrying their own individuality between the districts. Hence, it was never, we looked at other recommendations as far as dropping it even farther to get that space more sequential going from high density, medium density, low density. But I don't feel that it is right or necessary to go to the 4,000 or 4,500. That's simply too small in my mind. So we settled on creating that individuality, but keeping it, within reason. So that's why we landed on the 5,000.
Thank you.
That was a nice letter Terry Bolly wrote, too, with regard to that. Well done. That's a good working group then.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Any other comments, questions for Mr. Stedding?
Matt, I want to thank you for the good explanation you gave, and I really enjoyed using the word, appreciated the map to help us get a more visual idea of how that might look. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else, Council? Thanks, Matt. Therefore, entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2508, resolution of intent to hold a public hearing, which shall be March 17th, right here in this room at 5:30, on zoning ordinance amendments. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Dana, that we approve Resolution 2508. Is there any further discussion? Roll call. Beth Ann?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And Creighton?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Resolution 2508 is duly adopted. Chief of Police report. Welcome, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. A couple things to bring you up to date on. Last Thursday, we had our first of 4 department-wide training and meetings. We covered a couple things with the fire department on fire extinguisher training. We went through our 2025 goals for the department. Then we did a 2-hour training for all the department members from the Attorney General's office on courtroom testimony, preparing them for best practices of having to go to court. We had Color of the Wind on Saturday, which was a great event. The weather kind of, I think, maybe hampered some people from coming into town, but if you were uptown, you saw the vehicle barrier kit that we had deployed at Main and First Avenue North, or I'm sorry, Main and South Shore Drive, then First Avenue North and North Shore Drive there. So that kit, there's 8 of them across the state. The state owns them, and they're stationed at different emergency managements throughout the state. And so we're fortunate enough to have one station here in Saratoga County. So they've loaned it to us. It is reserved for the 4th of July for that event. It was a success for Color of the Wind, so we're looking at maybe using that in some of our larger events. 4th of July would be one for sure. Probably also the Tri coming up in May, and see how that works out for us too. So we're also looking at some other ideas to maybe add some additional protection for all the pedestrian traffic that we have uptown at our events too. So, and then tomorrow you see the big black vans out here. There's Lake Leadership has their government day tomorrow, and so I'll be presenting at that over at the fire department along with DNR and the fire department too. So it's tomorrow afternoon. I think at 2 or 2:15 I'm on. So if you want to come over and listen to that spiel again, you guys are all probably experts on it, but learn about the PD. We'll have about 30 minutes tomorrow afternoon for that too. So that's all I have for it, unless you guys got any questions on the events or anything coming up.
No, but great route that you drew for the Color of the Wind. You know, I was a part of that trail that came through there, and it was smooth as could be as compared to other years.
We work with the chamber on that. Trish did a lot of that stuff there too. I can't take even half credit for it. So we work with them too, but mainly it was her. We just made it happen. She had the vision, and we put the rubber to the road for her and made sure it happened for them.
Yeah, it was well drawn, well put, and I don't think there was any traffic jams at all, were there, to
We
speak
didn't.
of anyway?
I'm sure Stacy's got information for you too, but we didn't have any complaints really at all. That
Yeah.
everything that we talked to went great. It wasn't as cold as it was today. The snow was nice to be on the ice. It wasn't a slip. We didn't have any slips or falls, and so it actually ended up being pretty good for us.
Yeah, well done, well done. Thank you,
Yep, thanks.
thank you. Public Work Director's report. Mr. Kornberg. He carries a cot with him wherever he goes to get some rest from the snow.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, Council. Yeah, I guess to go on the Color of the Wind and the weekend, snow removal operations for that, we started probably around, depending on the individual, midnight to 1 o'clock in the morning. I think the last guy got off the road around 1 p.m. on Saturday, so just not a lot of snow, but just a drawn-out, windy event that we spent quite a few hours out there cleaning. Then, thanks to the folks at Fairway, they actually brought a couple platters of sandwiches for the plow guys as well as Parks. So we took a little break, had a snack, and then got back out and kept going. So, all in all, it turned out well. Finished cleaning up Sunday morning, the downtown area. You know, once it hit a certain time, a lot of cars, so we couldn't get down there, but. All in all, pretty good turn of events for us. A few hiccups there with equipment. We got doing some repairs this week, so a good week to do repairs with the cold. So the other item we have here is a review of the proposed dates for the large item drop-off. We met with Bennett and Dana and the individuals that went over the change in the program last year and kind of discussed everything. I think we kind of came to the conclusion that we're just going to kind of keep things as is. It was a successful event, and then we just set the dates for that as well. So we're looking at the same setup of a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So April 24th is a Thursday, starting at 8 a.m. and going until 7 p.m. And then Friday 8 to 5, and then Saturday 8 to 1. So, and then we'll do the curbside appliance pickup that Tuesday beforehand. So we've already had discussions with the landfill on some of the things to help us on our side as far as appliance or TV pickups or drop-off type stuff. So like I said, I think it was a very successful program, a lot of compliments, and yeah, look forward to keeping it that direction, and it went really well, really smooth. So.
Jeremy, just to blow everybody's mind, tell them how many TVs you collected.
I don't remember. What was it? It was a lot.
Over 3,000, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Dollars worth, I guess. So,
Yeah, 3,000.
Jeez.
That was a
Like
bit much.
330 or
I
something.
knew I saw 3,000 somewhere.
Yeah, I think it was.
How many did you drop?
It was like $3,400 worth of TVs, which is I don't know what we pay at the landfill, but yeah, it was a record on those. We filled every single piece of equipment I think we had could haul over there. So. We did, that was one of the things we talked to the landfill already about. We'll just gotta schedule it, is that they're gonna bring us or have their recycler bring us a trailer so we can just load them, and we're not loading and unloading multiple times. So, yeah, I think people went above and beyond and found TVs that they never knew they had and got them to us, so. Yeah, so, no, but yeah, I mean, like I said, it was a great event. People were very resourceful. We saw quite a few mattresses on top of Toyota Camrys being brought into the site, so.
You again, Ben.
Yeah, so,
I couldn't get the mattress on top.
holding on with both hands up, bringing it in, so it was good.
Well, Jeremy, I do want to say, I think it's been a great shift. I want to thank you and your team, and I know Jennifer was at the meeting, and Dana and Matt, and I don't want to forget anybody, but a lot of good input on that, and I think it was just very effective the way you and your team managed that event. And again, the community loves it. But I think the nice thing here is it ensured a more of a safe approach and a much cleaner approach. We don't have those abusive piles that we had, and
Yeah.
so.
No, yeah, the guys loved it. And I think one of them mentioned, like, overall, like, it's a pretty good event, especially doing it this way, is that their interaction with the residents was much more positive.
Right.
In this setting. So they got to interact with citizens, you know, up front and face to face, not just from a vehicle, you know, like we usually are. So, like I said, overall, really good event, and I think positive, so.
Yeah, very positive. Thank you.
Yep, thanks. Any other questions?
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Well put, Bennett, well put. We need to approve this, council, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed dates for large item drop-off, April 24th, April 25th, and April 26th at the Public Works site. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
So moved.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Beth Ann, that we approve the large item spring pickup, let's call it. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
Aye.
Motion carries. Mr. Engineer, you're up. Anything? Nothing? Under Mayor's report, Stacy, would you like to report on the wonderful color of the wind?
Mike already stole my thunder in regard to Color of the Wind, so I don't know that I have a lot more to add. No, it was a great day. You know, we were a little worried coming into the weekend with the snow and then the wind actually being too strong. It ended up staying, you know, just under their threshold to fly most of their kites, and so we got a nice display up there, and I think we saw around 10,000 people come into the downtown area and out on the ice, so that's what the numbers show. So smaller than previous years, but given the snow conditions, we're really happy with the number of people who were out. Friday night, we kind of peaked in some of the Surf District area restaurants, and they were busy. And then Saturday, walked up and down Main Avenue and kind of checked out the traffic on businesses, and then talked to a few of the businesses, and they were busy on Saturday too. So that's the point of the event. Very grateful again for Larry and Kay Day for starting that event for us 24 years ago. So next year will be our 25th anniversary event if we count the years we took off, which I think we're going to do that. So now, you know, mentioned that we've got the buses out here. Tomorrow is our city and county government day. We'll start here at City Hall. We'll learn about taxes. Yay! Yeah. And then we'll get some other education throughout the day and end up at the fire department. So now from a chamber standpoint, then we're moving into tri-season, and that's probably our most labor-intensive event that we put on. So we have an awesome committee there. We did get the state championship race again this year, so that's exciting for the race. And then we are adding a professional division. So we've had a couple of pros come to our event in the past, but this year we're having a division specifically for professionals. So we're hoping to get about a dozen or so professional athletes to come and race our event and have their own division, and it should be very exciting. They're very, very, very fast. And between now and the end of March, we'll be transitioning to our temporary office at 306 Main Avenue. So those are kind of the main things, and just wanted to say it's nice to hear Beth Ann on the phone. So nice to hear you on there, Beth Ann.
Stacy, when you say temporary, what's the goal going forward? You're going to move out of that building for a while? And
Yeah, yep. So our goal is to move out kind of mid-March, auction anything off that's still in the building that, you know, we're not going to need in the future, with the goal of starting to, we don't actually have to tear the building down. It's structurally sound. We're tearing the back half of the building off and hoping to start doing that in April.
Wow.
Yeah. So we'll be at 306 Main Avenue for about a year. So that's the former Laird Law Firm building. It's really nice. It'll give us a feel for what it's like to have that kind of square footage when our project is complete.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and many thanks to your team too for, you know, being out there on the ice and all that. coldness.
I had a do as I say, not as I do moment out on the ice. I told everyone, don't go out on the ice
Yeah,
unless
yeah.
you have cleats. And I did that, and there is video evidence of what happens if you don't follow that rule. So,
Ballet dance.
Yeah, it
went
was,
well.
absolutely.
It went well.
impressionist.
No, well done. Yeah, very exciting
Any-
about moving. Yeah, that's progress. Exciting time in the lake here.
Yeah.
Always is.
Yeah, and huge shout out to Colin Davison and Jim Stambaugh for, working with us on making that space be our home for a year. That'll be a really, really nice place to call home while we're in the middle of this project.
Yeah. Good. Any other comments? Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chad, North Iowa Corridor, welcome.
I'm glad Stacy could teach everyone what not to do out there, 'cause typically that's my role with my kids. It's like, watch Dad, you know what not to do. Watch Mom, she'll show you what to do. So, but no, appreciate everything. Thanks, Mayor and Council. Just a couple quick notes. Going to have the opportunity later this week to meet with Congresswoman Hinson and her team to talk through some economic development and business issues. So looking forward to that opportunity. Always appreciate her giving us the opportunity to chat with her. Certainly want to pass along any requests. If you guys want to touch base ahead of time, let me know if you have anything you'd like me to address with her. She's really looking to discuss economic development and some of the opportunities we have coming up in the region though, so excited to have that. And kind of tied to that, we'll have our DC trip, North Iowa DC trip coming up in May also. So I know we've got a good group of us going again this year on that. So a lot of legislative stuff happening, and it's been interesting to watch all the commotion in DC. So I'm sure there will be a lot to discuss. But watching a lot of that and trying to work with our employers and learn from them, how are some of these things impacting their businesses? Obviously the tariff discussion gets different industries very concerned. So just trying to make sure we can pass those kind of issues along and have them addressed as needed and where needed. On the project side, or I guess local business news, I'm sure you guys are aware of the metal fabricators business announcing their closure here recently. Have been working with the company, was actually able to participate in a deal with NIAC and Workforce Development and their crew a couple of weeks ago. Just sharing and relaying information and resources to the employees that are affected by that. It's about 17 employees that are going to be let go in that process. And actually, here this is kind of their last couple of weeks. They're kind of closing operations here at the end of February. Do have some opportunities coming out of that with some folks that are interested in keeping the business going, though. So we can't say a whole lot about that just yet, but there are conversations happening right now that we're working with both parties on to try to make that happen and see if we can keep the folks employed and really keep an important business. They serve a lot of other local businesses and have an important service, so it'd be a shame to lose them, obviously, but do have some hope there to keep something going, so looking forward to that potentially. Also, I guess just on the development side, continue to have major interest in the data center world. That's been really interesting. I've referenced in the past some things we're working on with Alliant. They do have about 900 acres under option now in the industrial park in Mason City, and that's, so we've had some really big direct conversations with large companies. Had another one last week, so a lot of interest in that world. There's a lot of things moving quickly in that world, so they're pretty confident. They've got the two going on in Cedar Rapids right now, and they've said, this is their next focus as far as Alliant's concerned for where in their territory they foresee something happening. So that's just going to be an area that we continue to look into and develop, and again, that'd be a major regional impact type project. So pretty excited about what could happen on that front. And then biofuels continues to be another big area, along with the distribution type projects with like the Amazon project and McKesson continue to be big deals for us. So on the housing side, had a really good meeting here a couple weeks ago. Appreciate the mayor and Jacob and several, I shouldn't even start naming names, but we had a lot of folks from the team just talking about opportunities in housing for Clear Lake. Shelley Oltman's our new Vice President of Housing Community Development. I think kind of walked through a lot of the things and potential state programs, federal programs, opportunities that we could look at. I know the zoning discussion came up that Matt talked about today too. Just trying to look at the holistic picture on housing in Clear Lake and how we can start addressing those issues more and better. We've had a lot of opportunities and successes in that front, But just looking at what's the next step, what do we want to make sure that we're continuing that pipeline, striking while the iron's hot, while we've got all the interest. You never know when those things are going to ebb and flow, so while we've got it, we got to keep pushing on it, and continue to see what that's going to be. So we're going to have some more assignments for everybody coming up over the next month or two as we work through some items on that checklist, but really excited to keep that moving. We also are working with NIACOG, or the Housing Corporation, and NIAC on a housing conference coming up April 24th. That's going to be at Music Man Square all day long. Registration has opened for that. It's on the NIACOG website. Is the easiest place to find that right now. Debbie Durham is going to be the keynote speaker, so it's going to be great to have her. I think it's almost an all-day event. But we got Debbie, Robin Anderson, who's from Iowa, not the Robin Anderson we all remember from the Mason City Chamber, but from Iowa Finance Authority, as well as several others. But just trying to cover it from the community perspective, developer perspective, and construction perspective, and touch all those bases. So really, I've been impressed by how big that event's turning out to be. And then the last note, last week we had the unfortunate news that Little Angels Daycare announced their closure in Mason City. I did find out they're doing that in Forest City as well. So the Child Care Works team, who I know you guys have heard from quite a bit, has really got together quickly as soon as they found out that was happening. And a lot of things were put in motion to help those families affected, because I think it's over 120 kids that were part of that. So Charlie Brown Daycare, Mason City Schools, and some other groups have all got together to really help get them all placed as quickly as they could. So that was unfortunate, but it was also a good indicator of how our community can come together and help each other out when things like that do happen. So that's been encouraging to see, and coming up with some solutions to that really quickly. And finally, we're been fortunate to be a part of the NIAC Strategic Planning Committee. We had another meeting last week. Bennett serves on that as well. I think we've got 25 or 30 of us on that steering committee. And it's just been encouraging, I think, to be a part of that and see where NIAC is trying to go, trying to be reactive and proactive, I guess, but reactive to the needs of our business community, our community members, and our students. But then looking ahead to what's in the future and how can we really be a key and leadership organization within the region. So excited to continue being a part of that. And as an organization, we're going to be starting up some strategic planning stuff with our board here in the next month as well, with the United Institute for Decision Making, who's doing the NIAC plan as well. So a lot of time for planning, a lot of cool things that have been going, but I want to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for continued success. So I think that's all I got.
Nice that at least I've seen plenty of interaction with other groups in this immediate area, and really they cover a 9-county area, but the new NIAC president is seen, let's put it that way. And, as a result of that, I think some good things will come out of their interaction with certainly us here locally, as well as the 9 counties that they cover. So it's very, very positive.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would really agree with that, Mayor. Thank you. He's worked really hard at that. You're exactly right on that. And I just want to thank you, Chad, for helping with or being part of that strategic planning process. You've made some real contributions there. Really appreciate that. So some good discussion we've had there. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks, Jed. Appreciate it. Under Mayor's report, real quick, I didn't say anything when Stacy was up or the chief was up, but Park and Rec did a lot of work on the sidewalks for that Color of the Wind too, and Jim was out there, and Seth as well, cleaning those off. And I saw more families with little children pulling wagons, pushing strollers, you name it, and those sidewalks really needed to be cleaned and were. And so many, many thanks to them. I think we need to make a connect. Maybe a couple of you councilmen can go with me some, but I see we have a new art center director, and I think those ties we can make a little tighter sometimes to go with that. Hey, our basketball team are in the state tournament, and they haven't lost a game, I don't think, have they? Aren't you our expert, Ebling, on that?
No.
But There, that's a good bunch. The
is.
wrestlers, we got
Yeah.
several of those down, and
Yeah.
one of our public works employees, son, Christian Dunning. Oh, yeah, Christian Dunning, what is, yeah. He's at, what, 175, I think, and 50 and no, he hasn't lost a, 50 and no. 50 and 0, he hasn't lost any at all, so, that's great. Chad took the North Iowa corridor group into Pin and Play. Is that what we call it? Pin and Play? Yeah, we had a great time in there, and now it's open. And the other day I walked by, you couldn't even get in the door. You know, I mean that's a wonderful part of where we all here have been a part, and that's successful there. You know, you talk about investment. You know, that's a good example of that as well. So, yeah, well done. Mr. City Administrator, anything? Where is he?
I don't have anything else to add.
Can I give a comment to him?
Yep, carry on.
I wasn't quick enough to add it when we were going through the audit report, but obviously a clean audit report is expected, and we should get that every single year, and we do get it every year, but it takes a lot of work to get there. So Jacob, just appreciate all the work that goes into that, and I know it's not only you, it's everyone in this office, it's Hope, it's Aaron, it's Jennifer, it's Brittany, but then also all the department heads following all the different guidelines, because there's a lot of them. And I'm very familiar with the law, with this, too familiar, but I know a ton of work goes into it. And although it is expected and we should get it every single year, I also know that there's a lot of work that goes into it. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Hey, we're a great team here. Let's keep it up, and things are going well. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.